Tony Romano sat in his empty restaurant at 3 in the morning, staring at the eviction notice in his trembling hands. 30 days. That's all he had left. 30 days to come up with $50,000 or lose Mama Rosa's, the restaurant his grandmother had opened 60 years ago. The place where 3 generations of his family had poured their hearts. The place that was more than a business, it was home. Tony put his head in his hands and let himself cry for the first time since his wife left, since his daughter stopped calling, since everything fell apart. He didn't hear the back door open, didn't hear the footsteps approaching. "Mr. Tony, you okay?" Tony looked up to see Miguel, his dishwasher, standing in the doorway with concern in his eyes. What Miguel did next, what this quiet, humble man had been doing in secret for months, would save everything. And the way he did it, pure magic. Mama Rosa's had been a Brooklyn institution since 1963. Tony's grandmother Rosa had arrived from Sicily with nothing but family recipes and impossible dreams. She opened a tiny restaurant in a neighborhood where nobody thought an immigrant woman could succeed. But Mama Rosa's wasn't just food. It was love on a plate. Her marinara sauce simmered for hours. Her meatballs were rolled by hand each morning. Her lasagna made grown men cry with nostalgia for grandmothers they'd never met. The restaurant became a community gathering place. First dates happened at table 7, marriage proposals at table 12, birthday parties, anniversaries, graduations. Mama Rosa's was woven into the fabric of the neighborhood. When Rosa passed away, she left the restaurant to her grandson Tony. He'd grown up in that kitchen, learning recipes at his grandmother's elbow, understanding that cooking wasn't just about feeding bodies, but nourishing souls. For 20 years, Tony ran Mama Rosa's exactly as his grandmother had. Same recipes, same care, same love. But the neighborhood changed, rent tripled. Big chain restaurants moved in with their unlimited breadsticks and corporate efficiency. Food delivery apps convinced people to stay home. The pandemic nearly destroyed them. And then Tony's personal life collapsed. His wife Maria, exhausted by the financial stress, and Tony's obsession with saving the restaurant, filed for divorce. His daughter Sophia, ashamed that her father couldn't afford her college tuition while refusing to close a failing restaurant, stopped speaking to him. Tony lost everything trying to save Mama Rosa's. And now he was losing the restaurant too. The bank had called the loan, $50,000 due in 30 days or they'd foreclose. Tony had nothing left, no savings, no assets, no options. Just an eviction notice and the crushing weight of 60 years of family legacy dying on his watch. Miguel Hernandez had worked at Mama Rosa's for 12 years. He'd arrived in Brooklyn from Guatemala at 22, alone and undocumented, speaking almost no English. He'd survived by working 3 jobs dishwashing at Mama Rosa's during dinner service, cleaning offices overnight, and doing construction on weekends. Most employers treated Miguel as invisible, a pair of hands to wash dishes or scrub floors. Nobody asked his name or his story, but Tony was different. On Miguel's first day, Tony sat down with him during a break and asked about his life, where he was from, what his dreams were. Miguel, shocked that anyone cared, opened up. He talked about his family back home, his mother who was sick, his younger siblings who needed school supplies. "You send money home?" Tony asked. Miguel nodded. Most of his pay went to his family. Tony didn't say anything then. But the next week, Miguel found an extra $200 in his pay envelope with a note. "For your mother's medicine, Tony." That act of kindness changed Miguel's life. For the first time in America, someone had seen him as a person, not just a worker. Someone had cared. From that day forward, Miguel wasn't just an employee, he was family. He arrived early to help prep vegetables. He stayed late to deep clean areas that weren't his responsibility. When the restaurant struggled, he refused a raise he desperately needed because he knew Tony couldn't afford it. "This place saved me," Miguel told his roommate once. "Mr. Tony gave me dignity when nobody else would. I owe him everything." So when Miguel came to work that night and found Tony alone, crying over the eviction notice, his heart broke. "Mr. Tony, what's wrong?" Tony looked up, embarrassed to be caught crying. He tried to wave Miguel away. "Nothing, Miguel. Go home. Get some sleep." But Miguel didn't leave. He sat down across from Tony. "Please, tell me." And Tony, exhausted and broken, told him everything. The $50,000, the 30-day deadline, the end of everything. Miguel listened in silence. Then he asked a question that surprised Tony. "How much you pay everyone this month?" Tony blinked. "What?" "The staff, the chef, the servers, me. How much for everyone's salary?" "Miguel, I can't not pay people." "How much?" Miguel insisted. Tony calculated in his head. "About $12,000. Miguel nodded slowly, thinking. Then he stood up. "I have idea. You trust me, Mr. Tony?" Tony didn't see Miguel much over the next week. Miguel still came to work, but he seemed distracted, constantly on his phone, having whispered conversations in rapid Spanish. Tony was too depressed to pay much attention. He was going through the motions, serving the handful of customers who still came. Knowing each day brought him closer to the end. Then, exactly 1 week after their conversation, Miguel approached Tony with an envelope. "Open it," Miguel said. Inside was $5,000 in cash, all small bills, 20s, 10s, 5s. Tony stared. "Miguel, what is this? Where did you get this money?" "Not from me," Miguel said with a mysterious smile. "Open tomorrow at lunch, you see." The next day, something strange happened. At 11:30, a family Tony didn't recognize walked in. They were Guatemalan, dressed in work clothes. "We're here for the lunch," the father said, in heavily accented English. "Miguel's friends?" Before Tony could respond, more people arrived. A group of construction workers, a woman with 3 children, an elderly couple, more and more people, all Latin American, all saying the same thing. Miguel's friends. Within 30 minutes, Mama Rosa's was packed, every table full, people waiting by the door. Tony, completely overwhelmed, rushed to the kitchen. His chef Carlos looked equally shocked. "What's happening?" Tony asked. "Miguel happened," Carlos said, pointing to the dining room. Tony went back out and finally understood. Miguel was working the room, greeting people, seating families. But he wasn't just working, he was telling stories, pointing to photos on the wall, explaining the history of Mama Rosa's. During a brief lull, Tony pulled Miguel aside. "What did you do?" Miguel smiled. "I tell my story, Mr. Tony. I tell everyone in my community about the man who gave me dignity, the restaurant that treated me like family. I tell them you losing this place, and I ask, who wants to help?" "Miguel, I can't take charity." "Not charity," Miguel interrupted. "Look at them. They're eating, yes. They're paying, yes. This is business, but also this is community. You helped me. Now I help you. and I bring people who understand what it means when someone sees you as human." Tears filled Tony's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say you keep fighting," Miguel replied. "Say you don't give up on Mama Rosa's, because this place," he gestured around the crowded restaurant, "it's special, like my grandmother's kitchen in Guatemala. It's where love lives." What started as one lunch became something bigger. Miguel had done more than invite his friends. He'd created a movement. He'd posted on community Facebook groups, telling Tony's story. He'd talked to his priest, who mentioned it in Sunday Mass. He'd spoken to other restaurants' workers, construction crews, cleaning staff, all the invisible workers who kept the city running. And they responded, because Miguel's story was their story. They knew what it was like to be treated as disposable. They knew the value of someone who saw their humanity. They understood that Mama Rosa's wasn't just a restaurant. It was a symbol of dignity in a world that often denied them that basic respect. The lunch rushes continued, but more happened too. A local food blogger, herself the daughter of immigrants, heard about the movement. She wrote an article. "The restaurant that treats everyone like family is fighting for survival. Here's how we can help." The article went viral. Suddenly, people from all over Brooklyn were coming to Mama Rosa's, not for Instagram photos or trendy fusion food, but for the real thing, for grandmother's recipes and genuine welcome and the feeling that you mattered. A GoFundMe appeared online. Tony never learned who started it, though he suspected Miguel. The goal was $50,000. Within 2 weeks, it had raised $32,000.